Welcome, pool guys and gals, to the Let's Talk About Pools podcast, where your host, Lauren Broom, will take a splash into many topics in the pool industry to educate all aquatic professionals. Listen in, and you just might be surprised what you'll learn. So let's jump right in.
Welcome today to the Let's Talk About Pools podcast, episode 13 on Florida drowning statistics and layers of protection, with podcast guest Amanda Throndsen, who works for the Florida Department of Health in their drowning prevention and statistics and water smart layers of protection. I also want to point out our sponsor for today's episode, poolmarketing.com. Thank you so much for your sponsorship.
You may be wondering, why do my competitors always show up ahead of me on Google? You want to know how you can get your website to the top of the search engines fast? You've been racking your brain thinking of who can help you with your website's search rank. Well, wonder no more. Poolmarketing.com specializes in SEO for pool companies and can get you to the top of the search engines in no time.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to my podcast today. Let's talk about pools. And my podcast guest today is Amanda Throndsen with the Florida Department of Health. She's the State Safe Kids Coordinator. Welcome today, Amanda. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy and thrilled to have you on. And we're going to talk about some drowning statistics and childhood drowning and that kind of thing today in the state of Florida. But first, tell me a little bit about you and your background a little bit.
Sure. So I just started working for the state about 2 years ago. I came out of the aquatics industry. I have certifications from the Red Cross in lifeguarding, water safety, instructor training, instructor trainer training. So I can teach instructors. I have my CPO certification. I've had it for the last 10, 15 years. I have taught swim lessons. I have run aquatics facilities. I've done maintenance on pools. Not my favorite thing to do, but I've done it. And I have been pretty much in the aquatics world for the last 27 years. I've done other things as well, but as my main focus, that's where I've been. I also hold a bachelor's and a master's. My bachelor's is from the University of South Florida, so go Bulls. And then my master's is from the University of Maryland. And that was one of the first online programs, which now everybody's doing their programming online, which it seems a little strange going from 10, 15 years ago doing an online program to now everything is online. So
yeah, technology's come a long way. You know, look at us on Zoom doing a podcast.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, it makes it easy to do a lot of things, and then you miss the people part. So being in person and being face to face, so you can see body language and give hugs, because I think that's what everybody's missed over the last year is giving hugs. So
what do you do in that position with the Department of Health?
So as the state coordinator for Safe Kids, I am basically trying to coordinate all of the safety topics and for unintentional injuries for children 19 and under for the 15 coalitions that we currently have in the state that cover 40 counties. My goal is to get all 67 counties covered with the Safe Kids Coalition. And part of the top five topics that Safe Kids covers are: one is drowning prevention, two is traffic safety, so which includes car seats, seat belts, distracted driving, teen driving, pedestrian and bike safety, heat stroke awareness. That's a big one, especially in this state. We lucked out last year, I think, with the pandemic and most people not traveling so much, that we only had, it's still tragic anytime there's a death, but there were only 3 last year as opposed to 20, which is about a normal year. So it's just getting those messages out there now about safety which is part of what I do. And I do a lot of the marketing and media for my section and helping get that done so that we can give our communications team a little bit of a breather right now. So,
Woohoo. Awesome. Thank you for your service and what you're doing up there. This is a really, big thing for me, talking about childhood drowning and having these different episodes. You're one of many episodes that I'm interviewing on different aspects of childhood drowning, from legislation to barriers to children with disabilities and autism and that kind of thing. So there's going to be a lot of good interviews coming up along with you in a grouping that will be on this topic that we need to hear more about.
And it's not just one thing that's going to prevent drownings. It's a multi-layered approach. It's a multi-organization approach. It's a community approach. It really needs to be a community approach. So, and
we'll talk about that toward the tail end. I have a great question to ask you on that. So I wanted to get into with the audience, because I do have a lot of parks and rec that listen to this podcast, pool service companies, apartment maintenance. So they all have public pools on their properties. So what are the childhood drowning statistics in Florida? Like ages 0 to 4, above 4, what are they at this year?
So 2021 is not looking good. We have already had, the last time I checked numbers was April 1st, and there were already 16 child drownings in the state, which is the highest it's been in many, many years. I think 2018 came close about the same time. I think there was 13 at that point. But 2021 is not turning out so great right now. 2020 wasn't horrible. We thought, because we saw numbers starting to rise in March and April and May, because we thought because everything got shut down and everybody was using their backyard pools and installing above ground pools, which aren't regulated. Those people put in whenever they want, wherever they want, and the building code personnel may or may not know about it. So, because residential pools do not fall under the Department of Health, they fall under the counties and the cities that have building code inspectors. And while people are good sometimes about doing construction and pulling their permits, there are other people that are just like, oh, I'm just putting a structure up and I don't need a permit and I don't need to tell anybody. So they don't know that there's a pool being put up. Well, when you put up a pool, whether it's above ground or in ground, you still have to put the fencing up. It is still the state law. So we thought it was going to be worse than it was last year. It was not. It was a little bit worse than 2019, but not so bad that like the numbers that are starting out for 2021. Children under 5 are the biggest category of drowning statistics from 19 and under. The in-between ages between 5 and 12, because a lot of them are already in swim lessons, they're getting safety information, it's not as high of drowning rates. Hold on one second. And then for the teenagers, it starts to jump again. So between 15 and 19, actually 15 and 24 is really what it is that high risk area and that mentality of, oh, I'm invincible. And it's usually not in a pool, it's usually in natural water. So the ocean, the Gulf, the lakes, the rivers, that's where those start to climb. And then and with children, it's usually in pools. So with the pools, a lot of it, and you can find this information on the Department of Children and Families. They do have a little bit of the situation and what happened. And what I've been seeing as a pattern is that the adults loses track of the child, which happens a lot because kids are here 1 minute, gone the next, and you can't watch them 24/7. But they had access, they were able to gain access to the outside and then able to gain access to a body of water, mostly being a pool, which means the barriers weren't in place, the alarms weren't in place, the gate wasn't locked, or the gate wasn't around the pool, the fence wasn't around the pool, or the door opened out to a water area such as a canal or a lake or a pond, and they had access to it. So a lot of and many people don't think that it's going to ever happen to them. That is what I've heard the most from every parent that I've talked to. I didn't think it was going to ever happen to me. I didn't realize that I didn't have enough barriers up, and I only turned my head for a second, and they were gone. So the biggest thing to remember is that if you lose track of a child and you have a water feature or some kind of water on your property, go check that first. That is the first place to start. And kids like the bathtubs too. We have some of those statistics in Florida where there are children drowning in bathtubs still. So don't leave your kids in the bathtub by themselves.
Parents,
when they're little.
yeah. Parents start multitasking when they get home from work and give them a bath, walk around, do laundry, start dinner, stuff like that. And that's when that goes wrong.
And the phone becomes a distraction. I mean, everybody's phone now is like, oh, I can get instant gratification by looking at something up, and oh, hey, I gotta find something. Look at your phone for a couple seconds, and boom, kid's gone.
Are you finding like in correlation between cell phone use and increased drowning, or?
There hasn't been enough of an in-depth study, or at least information, that I can correlate that. It's just a guess, just from watching the parents in my life that have kids and watching how much they're on their phone versus not on their phone.
Yep.
So when I'm around kids,
I think you get addicted just to the scrolling.
Oh yeah, because you're like, oh, what's next? What's next? What's next? And you're like, and you forget everything else.
Yep. And you forget everything else around you. And if you're near a body of water, that's when that potentially can go in the wrong direction. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's the access to get out. At least for those that are 5 and under, if you've got the higher locks and the window alarms, it'll alert you. For the older kids, they're pretty able and mobile and have motor skills that can climb over things, unlock things, and if they want to get somewhere, they're gonna do it. So it's just, and at that point, you have to teach, and I take this from when they can start understanding basic concepts, which a year and a half, you start with water safety at home and do it together, and teaching the kids, hey, if we're gonna go to the water, we do it with a grown-up. We don't go by ourselves. We make sure that we tell somebody where we're going, especially if we're leaving the house. Hey, I'm going to go outside and play in the front or in the back.
I totally agree with you. I think that there's got to be the responsibility on the parent, and the parent should be teaching the child to respect the water. You know, you can't just not think about it. It's like having children with animals. You don't want them poking the cat's eye out or pulling the cat's tail. You teach them to respect the animal and be nice. And so you want to do something similar for when you're around water. You can't just run around. You got to respect it, because it can hurt you. Just like an animal or a dog could turn around and bite you, a pool can become dangerous at that point.
And so can natural water. Most people don't understand the dangers that come along with going to the beach or going to the lake or to one of our natural springs. There's only one warm-bodied natural spring in the state of Florida. The rest of them sit at 72 degrees. That's chilly for most people. So, and especially for little people, kids don't do well staying in cold water for long periods of time. They get blue really quick. So, you wouldn't think you could get hypothermia in Florida, but you can.
So from what you said, you guys don't really see, for 2020, didn't see a big increase or correlation with COVID and increase in drowning deaths in Florida then?
No, we didn't. And I think part of that had to do with, we ran a campaign last year in May and June. And then one of the radio stations in the Tampa area continued with it until October. So they made a push because they were seeing an increase in drowning. So they wanted to make sure, especially one of the on-air talent was had twins, and she was like, I don't want my kids to end up to become a statistics, and I don't want anybody else's to either. So she put a big push on it in the Tampa area. So it helps. It also helped that a lot of the Safe Kids coordinators throughout the state, that was also on their social media platforms, and they were doing virtual trainings. Since everything got switched to virtual, a lot more parents started to participate in the evening hours. So they realized
Yeah,
this.
I could see
And
that. I think you may have to continue.
Yeah.
They may have to continue doing that because
that's the plan from everyone that I've heard that has done it. They're planning to continue it even when we go back to in-person events.
well, you got parents working all day, and the last thing they want to do is get in the car at 6 in the evening or 7 in the evening and drive somewhere and go sit in a class and listen to somebody talk after an 8-hour day. If they can have dinner and then sit down in front of their computer on Zoom, it's going to allow you to get that message out to a lot more people with the technology than you would have otherwise. So I think, the technology hopefully will help with this message for childhood drowning and all the ways to help prevent it. And I totally agree with you. It's not just one single thing. It's a layer of multiple things, which is kind of why I had a series of different podcast interviews that we're going to have the different layers talked about in different episodes.
There's different people and different organizations that help out in different ways. I mean, because it's not just one person. I mean, the Department of Health is pushing for safety, especially to prevent unintentional injuries. And this is one of those unintentional injuries that has a high rate and a high number to it. So it's trying to fix that. And the Water Smart Florida program and Water Smart Florida Coalition, which is made up of several hundred different organizations. There's 4 main ones that advise it and host the meetings and try to get as much information on what's working, what's not working, to put together a comprehensive plan to share throughout the state so that it's a cohesive message. Because when you have one message coming from multiple sources, people start to realize, oh, this is an issue and maybe I should pay attention to this.
So while we're on it, you brought it up. What is the Water Smart program?
So Water Smart Florida is the state coalition of like-minded organizations and some individuals. We have parent advocacy. We've got YMCAs. We've got the American Red Cross. We've got the Florida Swimming Pool Association. We've got Parks and Rec. We've got private industry. All of us are working together to find the messaging that works, to find programming that fits all age levels. So the children 5 and under, the kids in elementary school, kids in middle school, kids in high school. Because if you start with the kids, they bring it to their parents and they continue on in adulthood. Because when you and I were growing up, seatbelts were, you can wear them, you don't have to wear them. And then the law came into effect, and then it was you must wear your seatbelts, and you wear your seatbelt, and you wear your seatbelt. And now as an adult, it's not a second thought. You get in, you put the seatbelt on. So,
and there's a lot of emphasis on new parents with their infant car seat in a car.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a baby 4 years ago, so I can attest to that process, that you don't leave the hospital with your baby until they've done like this test that it's able to hold its head up and has support or something in the car seat. And then even when you're leaving, there's always somebody from the hospital double checking to make sure the parent has put the car seat into the car properly before you leave. And I'm like, I have older ones. You've met my older children that are like were 13 and 9.5 years older. And I go, I think I'm doing they still have to go through all those steps, no matter how many kids you've had. So we do that for infant car seats when they're leaving hospitals. And I've talked to other people and interviewed them, and they talk about it in the same way. We need to have that same type of message going out to parents on water and any body of water. You're right. It's not just a pool. It's the bathtub. That general information should be given to every parent before they're hopefully leaving the hospital or something like that, in that general sense.
And I don't know if you know this, but in Australia, they already do that. So it's part of their before leaving the hospital program. They have a book, a water safety book that goes with the parents. They have information that they talk to the parents about. And it's funny because when I started learning about what Australia was doing, I started looking at their numbers. They had just about as many drownings as we had, and they have almost the same population as Florida does. They just have a larger landmass than we do. So they're at about 24 million people. We're at 21 million people for the state of Florida. And I was like, well, why isn't this something we could do? So there are actually in St. Lucie County, the Safe Kids coordinator there is using their Do the Five Stay Alive program for water safety. She got permission to use it, and I was like, this is awesome, because I've also shared it with several other people. I go, it's catchy, it reminds kids to do things, but it also helps the parents engage the kids in a fun manner for water safety. Because the way most people learn now is it's got to be fun, it's got to be entertaining, and it's got to be short and easy so that you can remember it and go, oh yeah, I have to remember I can't go swimming without a grown-up. Or if the fence is closed and the gate's locked, I shouldn't be in there without a grown-up. And the other parts are learn to swim. It's not just for kids, it's for adults too. We have a bigger adult problem than we do children. About 75% of the drownings in Florida are adults. And that's high. Some of it, I will attest, and because you don't get to see the stories behind them as much as you do the kid ones. But some of it is probably due to, I'm going to show off and I'm going to do this and I'm going to be stupid. And others is just circumstances, didn't have your life jacket on, should have had it on. In the wrong place at the wrong time, didn't realize there was a rip current. Learned some cool new information about rip currents the other day. And hopefully we'll be able to I'll be able to share that coming up soon. But it's interesting how we take water for granted, because we're like, oh yeah, we have it and we can drink it and we can go in it, but we don't necessarily look at the dangers before we go do something, because we're like, oh, we've been doing this forever and ever and ever and ever. Well, water currents and rip currents change. As the land changes, the water changes. So, and people are just like, oh, I guess, maybe, I don't know. And there's signs up everywhere, but who reads a sign nowadays? I mean,
well, my understanding is they can be really good swimmers and a rip current can still get them.
Oh yeah. I'm a really good swimmer and I can still drown. It only takes a couple inches. If I get knocked out and I'm in the water and I'm face down, I'm not breathing. So that would be the biggest reason to want to wear your life jacket while boating, while fishing, even off the shore, in your kayak. Put it on. It's really not going to kill you. They make some great
especially
designs.
If you're going to be by yourself. That's the biggest thing is even if you're in a homeowners association pool and it's just you, if you have a heart attack or something in the pool, you're not going to die. You may not die of the heart attack. You're going to die because you're passed out in the water and you're going to drown.
And nobody knows you're there. For those adults that want to swim along, tell somebody you're going to swim and have them check up on you in half an hour, or go, hey, I will give you a call when I am done. Because that's happening a lot in West Palm, is there's a lot of adults that'll go swimming by themselves and not tell anybody and have a medical issue, or slip, trip, and fall and land in the water, or hit their head. They also have an issue with cars landing in the water, and while the car crash didn't kill them, they couldn't get out and the water did. So so they're starting to teach the teens there how, if they get into an incident like that, how to get out. And they're doing it by Zoom right now, and all the kids are fine because it's a short 30 to 45 minute, I think, presentation, and all the kids are enjoying it immensely. So it's something that adults could also learn. It's not a long training. It just teaches you, oh, if this happens, you only have seconds to either get out and move away, or wait, and how do you get out if you're already upside down and in the water, how do you get out? So lots of information. There's lots of information out there everywhere to find.
So what are the layers of protection that I think are mentioned in the Water Smart program? I know they're short and kind of catchy.
Yep. So the Water Smart program is supervision. Supervision is key to just about anything with kids. If you are in or near the water, this includes before you launch your boats, before you get in the water and you're putting your sunscreen on. Make sure you're paying attention to where your kids are. Make sure they understand that they don't get to into the water until you let them get in the water. And then while they're swimming, it's not just watching the kids. Everybody else around you is swimming, especially if you're having a pool party. It's make sure you designate a specific adult for a short period of time, 15, and you can do it like lifeguards do, 15, 20 minutes. Watch the kids, watch everybody in the pool, make sure everybody's staying safe, nobody needs a hand. And then switch it to another responsible adult. And responsible meaning you're not drinking, you're not talking, you don't have your earbuds in, you don't have a book in front of your face, you don't have your phone on you. You have your phone on you in case of emergency, but it's not in front of your face. So you're actively watching the water, the people going in and out, up and down. There's a lot of stories and a lot of records that show a drowning happened at a birthday party while there were other adults 2 to 5 feet away, and they just didn't see it because nobody was paying attention to that child. So pay attention, and it's hard to sit there and do it for half an hour or longer. Believe me.
Supervise.
So yeah, and just trade off, or have the kids take a break. If you need to have a break, take a break, clear them out, put the gate back up, put the fence back up, lock it, and go, hey, everybody's having a break, and get a snack.
That's a good idea.
That way it gives you the time to take a break and go to the bathroom or answer your phone calls or whatever it is that you need to do. And there are water watcher programs from multiple different agencies. I recreated the one the state has up on the Water Smart Florida website, and it is a lanyard type one. It is big enough so that you understand that you are responsible for it, and then the writing is big enough so that you can read it. So it goes over the do's and the don'ts. And but the Y has one, Safe Kids Worldwide has one, the National Drowning Prevention Alliance has one. I mean, you can find a water watcher program in just about any water safety organization throughout the country. So
what are some of the counties in the state of Florida that have some of the highest drowning rates?
Broward has been number one. Their numbers last year were pretty good, and same thing with 2018. But Broward, Miami-Dade, West Palm, Orange, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Duval, Brevard actually is up there. Most of it's almost split, East Coast and West Coast. Lee County, Charlotte County. It's usually where the big populations are. There are still issues out in the Panhandle as well. So Escambia, Okaloosa, Santa Rosa, Bay, the ones that are right on the water. Those are usually your ones that will have the biggest numbers for the state. That's not to say that drownings don't happen in the rural areas. They do. They're just either not recorded as much or not as frequent as in larger areas that have more pools, more canals, more lakes, more access to water. It's just, and a lot of it, like I said, a lot of the children's drownings are in pools. So it has to go back to what are you doing to keep your house safe and your kids safe in the house and in the pool. And then learning about natural water when you go out and do it, because Florida's got a lot of it. It's a lot of fun natural water out here.
We're the one state surrounded on 3 sides by water, plus we have swamps, rivers, and lakes everywhere, and springs and everything else.
Yeah, and everything else you can think of water related, we have it. And they're fun. It's that's why people live here. That's why people move here. It's warm. It's fun. There's lots of outdoor activities.
Just have to be smart.
Just being smart. Be smart about it. Just wherever you're going, look up the weather conditions. Is it going to rain today? Is there a storm coming in? Especially since we're surrounded by the Gulf and the Atlantic. Check to see if there's a storm out there, because you never know. It might decide to just pick up speed and blow over the state. And it might start on the East Coast and then end on the West Coast, or start on the West Coast and end on the East Coast. So it's just being smart about where you're going and understanding the water conditions, because not only is it the currents, but you also have to worry about the water quality too. So you working in for environmental health know that there were some areas we had to sample for water quality because the lakes or the river or the beach had issues, and they wanted to make sure that there were no issues. And so it's knowledge. It's understanding things before you go do them. So.
Totally agree. Well, any final comments or anything you want to bring up that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, I think I forgot to go over the rest of the there's a supervision, but supervision is one, and that's key. And then the second is barriers and alarms. Those block the access, or at least alert you to the access. And there are new technologies coming out to help you with that. So it's just finding out what fits your budget and what works, and then making sure they're properly installed and active. Because if you have them, but they aren't on, they don't work.
I just saw something on Facebook yesterday, and it was here in Florida. I think it was Collier County. They tried it out at a Parks and Rec pool, and it's something that the child wears that alerts them if they go under the water a certain amount of time that could indicate a drowning.
It's all swimmers. So it's called the wave detection system. I have actually seen it in use. It's a good concept. It's a wearable. If it's underwater for longer than, I think it's 20 seconds, it might be 30. It sends an alert to the lifeguard. It sends an alert to the system and to the area that it's in. But there's a lot of new technology coming out to help with additional layers of protection.
I just wanted to bring that up because I saw that recently. I was like, I bet Amanda knows about that.
Yep. Yeah. And I was just on the National Drowning Prevention Alliance conference, the NDPA, and there was another one that is the video technology survey system. So it can actually track body patterns and movement in the water. And if somebody stays in one area for too long, and if they're underwater, it's really cool. So like I said, there's cool technology coming out to help with the layers of protection, but it's not giving up that supervision. It's not giving up those barriers. And then the other part is the emergency preparedness. Is, do you know CPR? Have you learned CPR? Probably the best skill to have for just about everybody, because the likelihood of you using it on somebody you know is higher than the likelihood of you using it on somebody you don't know. So it's a safety skill, and there are classes all over. They're doing a lot of them both ways. So virtual, and then you have to go in and take the skills, because in order to get certification, it is a skill certification.
Hands-on.
You do all the training online. You do the book work. You take the test if there's a test, and then you go in person and learn all the hands-on and the skills. And those are all starting to come back as we start coming out of COVID. So there should be some available throughout the state in just about every county. And then having a plan. Emergency plans are important for just about everything. You probably have one for if there's a fire in the house. You probably have one if there's a tornado coming in. Why not have one for water safety? Whether it's you have your own water sources or you are going out and enjoying the water, have a water safety plan. And teaching it to the family. It's all about teaching it and doing it as a unit. Your household unit, do it as a unit. The same thing with learning to swim. Learn to swim. I cannot tell you how often adults are like, well, I just can't do it. I'm terrified. You can do it. It takes a little bit longer because the fear is a lot higher as an adult than opposed to a kid. But everybody has the ability to learn how to swim if they want to learn how to swim. It comes down to that: do I want to do it or do I not want to do it? And I encourage everybody, if you don't know how to swim or you're not a strong swimmer, go practice. I think the statistic is about 50% of the country couldn't save themselves if they were thrown into a situation where they had to in the water. So learning to swim is important. And then just remember, life jackets are for everybody when they're boating, for weak swimmers, for non-swimmers when you're not. It does not excuse the supervision. you're going to put somebody in a life jacket, you still need to watch them. It is not a babysitter. Just like lifeguards, they're not babysitters. They're there to protect everybody in a facility and make sure that nothing happens. And they're trained. So and lifeguards are trained to react when an incident does occur. So they're not just getting a tan. They're not just sitting there looking pretty. So.
Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast episode today. This has been such an honor to have you on and talking about childhood drowning in Florida. And thank you for being on today, Amanda.
You're welcome, and I enjoy it. And like I said, if anybody has any questions, please have them feel free to email me or visit watersmartflorida.com, and you can find out more information. There's also the state laws listed there. So if you didn't know that we had state laws, you can go look them up. We do have them on the site, so that way it's easy access.
Well, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day, Amanda.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks for diving in today with the Let's Talk About Pools podcast. Be sure to follow us on our YouTube channel or our Facebook page. And feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts so more aquatic professionals like you can learn about the show. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Let's Talk About Pools podcast.